Dr. LMadu, and the topic is the strategic implications of the Horn of Africa. And of course, Dr. LMadu has already identified those countries that make up what is called the Horn of Africa, and he will continue by giving us some additional information dealing with the economic developments in these particular areas. Dr. LMadu.
Yeah, like I was saying, the major importance of the Horn is the control of the Straits of Bab el-Mandeb. The Bab el-Mandeb means, like I say, Gate of Tears in Arabic. It was named so because centuries ago there was just a myth, a legend, that saying that there was a big earthquake that separated Asia and Africa, killing millions of people in the process, and that's the way Bab el-Mandeb Straits got created. Bab el-Mandeb links Africa to Asia. On the other side of the Straits of Bab el-Mandeb, we have Yemen, the Yemen Arab Republic. On the other side in Africa, you have Djibouti. So the control of those straits is very important to the United States and the major powers.
Very good.
And like I said, about 3.5 to 4 million barrels of oil go through that straits every day towards the Suez Canal and to Europe and to Israel. So it's important who controls it. In fact, unbeknownst to a lot of people, the reason why the United States government and secretly also the Israeli government was supporting Haile Selassie in his bid to keep Eritrea was to keep control of that strait in friendly hands. They did not want it to fall into Muslim hands. And at that particular time, the Eritrean Liberation Front was viewed as a front for Islamic expansion and fundamentalism. That's the way the emperor cut into the American government. But however, now most people know that the leadership, really, of the Eritrean Liberation Front is predominantly Christian, led by Isaias Afwerki, who is the current president of Eritrea. Though the United States is not friendly with Eritrea at the moment, which is one of the reasons why we turn to Djibouti. Today, the United States has troops stationed in Djibouti, in the guise of fighting anti-terrorism. But however, the reason for that is to keep an eye on the Straits of Bab el-Mandeb, to make sure that flow of oil is not disturbed through that channel.
They've already identified that as what they have to do. The United States has already identified that as what must be done. Is that what we're saying?
Absolutely, absolutely. And the Kagnu Air Force Base, in Eritrea, which has Haile Selassie signed over to the U.S. in 1953, is no more very important as it used to, with the proliferation of satellites and all that. Though it's still important to an extent. So here you have Kenya, Somalia, Sudan, Ethiopia, Djibouti, and Eritrea, all poor and unstable because of political problems. Though in the past few years there has been election in Djibouti now, which is getting stable. Ethiopia has had elections, democratic elections, so to speak, in the African context, and Eritrea is the odd guy out. But what is interesting is that when Afwerki came to power, he became the darling of the United States and Western European countries until he showed his true colors. He is accused or alleged, to have really started the war in 1998 with Ethiopia. Because of his own ambitions, and that war completely destroyed the Eritrean economy, which is still really up to today. Then you have the Sudan. The Sudan controls the water the Nile water to Egypt. And what you have now is that the Egyptian government is opposed to Southern Sudan becoming independent because of the fear of the Christian government controlling the waters going to Egypt. That's been one of the problems too of solving the Sudanese problem. Whenever an agreement is signed, the Egyptians oppose it because they do not want an independent Southern Sudanese government. On the other hand, you have Somalia and Kenya having a conflict over ethnicity. There are Somalis who live in Kenya. The Somali government wants them as part of Somalia. There are Somalis who live in Ethiopia. The Somalis want them as part of their country. Somalis who live in Djibouti, Somalia also claims Djibouti. So part of the problem in that part of the world has been what we call Somali irredentist ambitions. They want to, unify all the ethnic Somalis living in different countries surrounding Somalia. That was the reason for the two wars.
Now, why are so many people in these other countries from Somalia? I mean,
Because of colonial artificial creations.
Okay.
You know, in Somalia itself, you can see, was under the control of almost three powers. The French, you know, Somaliland, you know, was, is Djibouti. Then you have British Somaliland with this capital in Hargeisa, northern Somalia. Then you have southern Somalia in Mogadishu with the Italian Somaliland. So when independence was granted, these two, northern and southern Somalia became one country. You know, even though they're the same ethnic group. So Somalia is and Swaziland are the two most ethnically homogeneous countries in Africa. They are all the same, speak the same language in Somalia and Swaziland. You know, but you have clans within these so-called homogeneous ethnic groups, and that's why you had the Somali, you know, civil war. You know?
Well, Dr. Madu, it seems that this is almost, it seems to be a very, almost an impossible kind of situation in terms of, because if we contend that the most important thing here is to create stability, it seems that it's a very difficult situation. I mean, what can be done in terms, we've got 2 minutes before this segment ends. You might want to start dealing with that. I mean, what could we do in terms of dealing with that?
Well, I think the governments themselves have to find a way to solve it. The problem is that most of the governments themselves in Africa thrive on ethnic division so they can stay in power. Most of them are not interested in solving these problems, because solving these problems means the rationale for them being in power will be removed. So they're interested in fanning these embers in order to stay in power. When we come to the elections in Kenya, then you know, some of these things can be cleared out, and you can see how ethnicity plays a role in who governs. So that's really the major problem, is the leaderships themselves being able to you know, break this cycle of ethnic dependency as a tool to political power.
And so the last 45 seconds that we have for this particular segment, when we come back, we'll allow you to further elaborate upon this. But in the meantime, it seems that this is almost an impossible kind of situation, but it has been said that the United States is playing a real part in terms of holding up many of these governments that you think ought not to be in power. And so and when we come back, we want you to deal with that as an issue, because I think that if we're spending money to help to create the chaos that's there, and certainly we don't want to think that. And of course, we'll be back with our audience following this very short commercial break. Dr. LMadu, and